what I'm hearing now is with the job market changing, the people that aren't using AI are the ones that are losing their jobs.
This last week, I had a complete and total dumpster fire with AI. I really wanted to throw my laptop against the wall.
I use AI to basically streamline drafting leases and drafting letter of intents for non-binding.
There is so much hype right now around AI replacing teachers, and I want to push on that, especially for young children learning to read.
There's now police that can watch the robots to keep them honest and make sure that they're doing, which I think is just absolutely mind-blowing to me.
This is Real AI Use Cases Business Owners Roundtable with hosts Elizabeth Gearhart, podcast consultant, marketing expert, and PhD researcher using AI every day, and Richard Gearhart, entrepreneur, seasoned business owner, and intellectual property attorney specializing in innovation. Here's how real companies are using AI right now.
Now it is time for AI Use Cases Business Owners Roundtable. I'm going to ask each of our guests one way that they're using AI in their business, and then we'll have a discussion. So I am going to start with Todd Drowlette with therealestateCommission.com. What is one way that you are using AI in your business?
I use AI to basically streamline drafting leases and drafting letter of intents for non-binding documents that you use as a basis for a lease or purchase contract. I don't use it for a lot of other things. So far, for the things I've tried using it for, I don't find it to be accurate. I know it's getting better by the day, but it is pretty good at summarizing things and throwing documents, but I wouldn't rely on it. A lot of people will use it to summarize a lease. There's so many nuanced things you could just stick in there, so I don't trust it for that type of thing, but I use it to summarize.
Okay, excellent. So Chris Klein with BigIRA.com. Okay, one way. I know you're probably using it like a million ways, Chris.
Yeah, obviously, if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't be where we're at today. AI is definitely we're at a crossroads of it, and its adoption is going to be even faster than cryptocurrency and other technology. My ChatGPT and I have a pretty intimate relationship. When you use it enough times, you can actually ask it at the end of the year what it thinks of you and what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, if you're using it on a daily basis. We have a standard in our business that every department, so whether it's finance, whether it's sales, revenue, marketing, every single department has to have one AI initiative every quarter that they begin and they end. My most recent one that I'm probably most excited about right now is it's not my department, it's the technology. There's such a thing called AI police for the AI. So when you have so much AI working in your business where you've got code being built and calls being reviewed and contracts being and all these other moving parts, that there's now police that can watch the robots to keep them honest and make sure that they're doing, and which I think is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. And in fact, at the conference I was at last week, they announced that an AI spawned another AI for the first time in history. So watch out. I always say please and thank you to my robots. Over.
Thanks. Oh my gosh. We're going to come back to that in the roundtable. Jessica Sliwerski with Ignite-Reading.com. What's one way you're using AI?
Ignite Reading is focused on partnering with school systems to embed daily one-to-one virtual tutoring to teach kids to read. And in our space in K-12, there is so much hype right now around AI replacing teachers, or in our space, tutors. And I want to push back on that, especially for young children learning to read. Because a 6-year-old who is struggling with phonics needs to have an actual human working with them, somebody who notices them when they're frustrated, who celebrates the small and the big wins, who makes them feel safe and celebrates alongside them when they're persisting. And that relational piece, especially with young children, is not a nice to have, it's a need to have. So when we think about leveraging AI, it is about making the humans dramatically better at what they are doing. And we are imagining the ways that AI can analyze our tutoring session data, quickly flag where kids are struggling, prepare tutors to show up with the exact right instruction to support kids, because we want them empowered by AI. And then we're also currently leveraging AI, this is so exciting, to extend the opportunities for kids to have targeted instruction outside of that synchronous one-to-one engagement with the tutor. So we'll continue to see that in our outcomes data, by harnessing AI and the opportunities of AI, we're actually getting even more kids to learn to read faster. And that is so exciting to me.
It is. It's humans and AI working together. That's the promise of the future from a lot of people.
Out of curiosity for you, as your daughter, just met her, we have two 12-year-old daughters. How are you addressing that elephant in the room with her for schoolwork and things. So I remember being a kid, we all said, our teacher said you wouldn't have a calculator in your pocket. Turns out we do, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so the world's going to change faster. And one of the things with Isabella is I struggle with is I'll make her read the science chapter 2 times out loud, so I know that she's getting the phonics. But then at some point, with the questionnaires and the things that she gets, and I will let her, I've taught her own ChatGPT and said, okay, you can go here and make sure that you're answering these the right way, but you don't just jump to have the robot do the work. How are you addressing that?
Oh, such a great question. So I think that with young children and within the school system, the opportunity around AI is to be able to empower kids to understand how to leverage AI and then how to bring a critical thinking lens. So with my own child, there was an example recently where she was working through a math problem. And even I was stuck, right? I'm a literacy girly, not a math girly. And so I said, you know what? I think Claude can help us. I have a relationship with Claude. Claude is like my best friend, and besides Taylor Swift. And we pulled up Claude, and she was like, you can't do that. That's cheating. And I said, no, it's actually not, because watch how I'm going to do this. And I taught her how to do the prompting. I taught her how to bring a critical thinking lens to the response we got, how to deepen that prompting. And that is what we have to be teaching our kids. And if our kids can't read, they can't do that. So this is why we have to be urgent about teaching kids to read.
I'm taking an online class right now in how the pharma industry is using AI. And I have an assignment every week, and they assign a lot of reading and articles. And they're pretty high-level articles. They're very sophisticated. And I would just like to ask ChatGPT for the answers, which it could give me. But I find that actually reading the articles to answer the homework is a lot more informative, because I'm not just getting the short answer. I'm picking up all the information that comes along that explains the basic principles. And I think that's really valuable. And for me, I'm trying to expand my vocabulary in the pharmaceutical industry. And reading this stuff reminds me of principles and understandings that I had a long time ago. After I write out my answer, I might ask ChatGPT just to see what it says and get some more feedback on it. But I still think that's probably the best way to learn.
Richard Gearhart, what's one way you're using AI in your business?
This last week, I had a complete and total dumpster fire with AI. I really wanted to throw my laptop against the wall. I was trying to analyze our firm's profitability and get some performance metrics. And so I put a lot of information, our financial statements, the lawyer timesheets, invoice records, into Microsoft Copilot so that I could have not ChatGPT, but Microsoft Copilot analyze the data. And it kept coming back with wrong answers. It was even wrong compared to the information that I put in there in the first place. What is the revenue number? And it would say, okay, here's your revenue. And then, but I'm looking at the financial statements and our revenue number is different. And so it just got really frustrating for me. And it just says to me, it's not there yet. And part of it is probably I didn't write the prompts in the right way, but I feel like the questions I were asking, that it should have been able to give me a good answer.
Richard, I've had the problem where I've given Claude a prompt and asked him to do something, and he's given me an answer that I know is blatantly wrong. And then I teach Claude, I say, no, Claude, that's wrong. This is the thing that's crazy is you have this relationship and then tell them they're wrong and they will do better.
I tried that.
Well, your
and
was walk away from anything.
Well,
Not sorry, Bill Gates.
Says the guy who looks like Bill Gates.
No, he does not look like
That's
Bill Gates.
passive aggressive.
Claude, help me.
I have to be careful because I'm using client confidential
Yeah.
information. I have to use a platform that doesn't compromise that.
This is Elizabeth. That was Richard with Gearhart Law. This is Elizabeth with Gear Media Studios. So I use it every day. I use Gemini and ChatGPT and Perplexity, and usually Perplexity is in the Claude model. Lately, I've been using Google Gemini more than anything else. It's the one that's done the latest upgrades. I think it's better than, but I do have to still use chat for some things because I've been writing these blogs and I put up through them and said, can you optimize these for LLM search and give me the FAQs and give me something I can put schema code with for LLM search? And I had some little jokes in the fun blog but still serious. And Google Gemini just completely sanitized the whole thing. I was like, oh. And then, but ChatGPT left my extra little jokes and stuff in there. So you really, I think, have to use them for different things. Google Gemini is getting to know me a little too well, though, because one of
Showing
them.
up at your house uninvited.
It is.
What's
And
for
it was-
dinner?
Instance asked it a question, said, "Oh, go ask Elizabeth."
God.
I'm like, what?
You're like, we can see what she's doing right now. She's available.
Like it gives me these personalized answers. Oh, for instance, if you and your meetup co-host Sonia Sacha for your next meetup on Podcasting 101 wanted to do this, and I'm like, I didn't ask you anything about Sonia or the meetup or anything. You just brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, recently ChatGPT said something like, I think your son Sean would like this.
Yeah.
I don't remember putting Sean's name
It was
into
on
a
our
prompt.
podcast, though.
Yeah.
So it knows we have 2 kids because they've both been on our podcast, and it brings up the kids to me too.
This is why you say please and thank you. There's a new tool I just saw 3 days ago called Chairman, and it solves that problem of all 4 or 5 of them are giving you different answers.
Yeah.
So it actually takes your problem, and this has really become powerful for entrepreneurs, because if you're a startup, you don't have a board of directors. You don't have any C-level, C-suite. You're on your own
Right.
usually at the beginning. And so you can use it as, okay, here's my problems and my goals for the quarter. Here's my roadmap. It'll go out to all of the channels and get feedback like your different board members, and then come back and it'll, like a good CEO or a chairman of the board, it will put it all together and synergize it and then send you what it thinks is the best recommendation by listening to all the other versions of it.
Richard just found out about this new one, Claw something.
Open claw.
OpenClaw. But OpenClaw, I researched it on Google Gemini. It accesses everything on your computer.
Yeah.
And it's on your hard drive, so it's private, but then you pair it with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT could, or whatever, LLM, could get everything on your computer. I just don't see the security. I guess there is you can do an LLM that you can put on your hard drive through this other program, which is what you would have to do, or just get a computer just to use OpenClaw.
Those solutions are coming. I think that's a big conversation piece. The privacy security is a huge thing that everybody's, especially with law firms, doctors, it's all the
Any
PII.
large company is not going to want their data.
We redact everything to just where it's brass tacks. But even then, the first time I put in like a quarterly budget, I was like, can my competitors figure this out if they ask? You have to ask that question. You don't really know.
Right.
And there's some things that are your
And
secret
I
sauce.
could lie to you.
Yeah.
And then Google said you can encrypt the files on your hard drive that you don't want it to see. But yeah, for hackers though, doesn't encrypting something it's like a red flag to a bull? They're like, oh yeah, there's a challenge. I'm going to go break that.
I'm just sitting here as an educator and as a parent, and I'm thinking about the opportunity for kids. And I'm thinking about how we as adults are grappling with AI, and yet this is going to be real life and everything for our younger generations. And it is already, we are seeing the glimmers of the way that the job market is changing, and it's only going to accelerate. Just looking at how quickly Google Gemini, for example, or like the latest version of Claude, and it's mind blowing what AI can do. And I look at that as so much opportunity, and we have to make sure that our young people are ready to harness that opportunity, because this is not going away. And the job market is going to be how
gonna
well
change.
you can manage a team of robots.
That is so true. And we've been saying on this show, I don't know, for the last year or so, you got to learn it now, because what I'm hearing now is with the job market changing, the people that aren't using AI are the ones that are losing their jobs.
Right.
You can take an LLM and have it watch your employee for a day, and it will come back and say, this is how I could do this without that employee. Like there's going to be, Amazon, for example, has already 500,000 robots, and their goal is to be at more robots than humans within the next 5 years. And that's one of the biggest employers in the country. And that's happening across the board. So unemployment, or new employment, if you want to put a positive spin on it, is going to be the next evolution.
You know what that new employment's going to be, don't you? It's going to be making the parts and fixing those robots.
Oh, yeah. Blue
Because
collar is back.
I know I used robots in the chemical industry. They weren't humanoid robots, but they were always breaking. You know what? And you always had to get parts, and you always had to call the tech from the company to come and fix the robot. So there are going to be jobs, just different jobs. So this has been AI Use Cases Business Owners Roundtable.
You have been listening to Real AI Use Cases Business Owners Roundtable. We hope you found this valuable. Join us again for more stories, because the future of business is driven by AI. This podcast was recorded at the iHeart Studios in Manhattan as part of the Passage to Profit radio